You are watching. The apocalypse is here, Innit. Do said. So, what you're saying is, when the infection symptoms kick off, the zombies don't have a pop at you. How long do these symptoms usually hang about before they bugger off again? Jung replied. Well, it seems to be about 1 to 2 hours, maybe even 3. I haven't a clue what makes the symptoms show up, to be honest. But when they do, I'm proper knackered, feel like I'm about to peg it. Do said. That's well hard to believe. But the real problem is this. Let's say the symptoms come on, and you nip across the line 5 Han River Tunnel yourself. To check if the other side's blocked, you'd have to go past Guanyaru Station all the way to Cheonyo Station. And the distance from here to there is about 4 clicks. That's a fair old trek. If you're hoofing it, that's a 2-hour round trip. What happens if the symptoms vanish before you're back? Won't you end up as zombie scoff? Jung said, How about I nick an electric? Reckon I could go and come back within the hour. Do said, We'd need to suss out if the tube tracks and floor are even fit for a scooter. And we don't know when those symptoms will turn up or clear off. It looks dead risky. We're already losing people left and right just keeping this shelter running. Last time, 2 of our lot snuffed it. He added, Mind you, that was down to those prison escapees. Those blokes might come back, so we need to keep our eyes peeled on security right now. Jung said, Can't I just go on my Todd? I'm already infected, and in here I'm practically a squatter. Han Yena, sounding like a right bossy girlfriend, said, Absolutely not. If you go chucking your life away again like that, who's going to be left a widow? Jung, sweating as he gawped at her, said, Widow. Han Yena said, Huh. Well, overload. If you push your body too hard, you'll overload and it'll be dangerous. Kang Hakchul said, Right. The sergeant's got a point. The symptoms are dead uncertain, both when they show and how long they last. It's far too reckless, that idea. Do said, Let's hold our horses and observe a bit more. Later on, it'd be better to break through with a bit of help from the soldiers here. Jung said, A few ticks later, at the city railway entrance, a guard stood there, silent as the grave, as Jung, Han Yena, Kang Hakchal, and Do rocked up. Han Yena glanced to the side, all confused. Then she froze solid in shock. There stood Choi Sujin with some other bloke. Choi Sujin said, What? Han Yena, it was Choi Sujin, 36 years old, an influencer who'd packed in acting, Han Yena's stepmom. Choi Sujin said, Oh my days, haha, you're still alive, haha. Han Yena flashed back to a few days earlier when she'd been trapped in a room ringing her stepmom. Choi Sujin had answered the phone and said, Yeah, what do you want? Han Yena, proper panicking with fear, had said, Hello. Choi Sujin had snapped, What? I'm busy right now. Han Yena had said, I'm stuck in the emergency stairs of a building on the high street right now. Help me. Even ringing 999 or the fuzz isn't connecting. Choi Sujin had said, What are you on about? Sort yourself out. Han Yena, sweating, had said, What? Choi Sujin had said, Our flat's in chaos and all right now. I'm trying to stay alive, so I'm hanging up. Han Yena had said, Well, wait a mo. You've got a car, I'm right near here at the FD building with Meow Pilates. Come and pick me up here. Choi Sujin had ended the call. Han Yena had been left speechless. Back to the present. Han Yena's eyes were wide as she stared at Choi Sujin in utter disbelief. Jung looked between the 2 women, baffled. He said, Do you know that bird, Yena? Han Yena said, Yeah, that's the one I told you about. The right gobby mare who my dad ditched me for during this whole bloody disaster. Choi Sujin, shocked, said, Oi, he didn't ditch you 'cause I told him to. Our flat was in chaos that day and all, and I nearly copped it. I scarpered 'cause my life was in danger, and now you're making me out to be the villain. Choi Sujin's toy boy said, Honey, let's just go. Choi Sujin, in a proper witchy voice, said, To be blunt, you're not even my daughter. Why would I risk my neck to save you? You and I ain't blood. We're strangers. And that day, no. If you hadn't been so bloody annoying to me before all this, I wouldn't have done that. It's your own karma, you little madam. Jung Minjun, sweating, quickly tried to shield Han Yena, saying, Well, what is this mad old bat? Let's scarp her. Choi Sujin kept yelling, What? Mad old bat? Oi, who are you? What are you, some kind of plank? Oi, are you not stopping there? Ha Do-hyun said, There's such a troublemaker inside our shelter and all. Kang Hakshol said, Who's that person? Ha Do-hyun said, A survivor couple who came in a few weeks back. I don't like him. In the car park, that bloke keeps skiving off support duties, saying he's ill. Neither of them listens. They keep breaking the rules. And they're nothing but aggro. That woman says she was some famous actress before, or whatever. But whether she's an actress, or the Prime Minister, what does it matter in this situation? If they keep muddying the waters like this, we'll have no choice but to give 'em the boot. Though I didn't know she had that kind of history with Yena. Han Yena stayed quiet. Jung Minjun sweated as he glanced at Han Yena Ha-do-hyun, suddenly stopped. His radio crackled with noise. The radio said, Discovered one United States soldier at Southgate 2. Will disarm and let him in. Ha-do-hyun said, United States soldier? The radio continued. The officer said, If there are any survivors who can speak English, please send 'em over sharpish. Over. Ha-do-hyun said, Huh, a stray USFK soldier. Who among the survivors can interpret English? Han Yena said, Me. Ha Do-hyun looked at her confused. Han Yena said, I can speak English at the internal medicine reception. The United States soldier sat there patient as anything. He said, I was out on patrol after setting up a base at a nearby school. That's when I found this place. It was David Briggs, Sergeant David Briggs, 27 years old, Camp Humphreys, 2nd Division, Pyeongtaek. David Briggs said, There are 5 men left in my unit. The other 4 are holding position at the base. Everyone else didn't make it. Han Yena translated into Korean. He was on patrol after setting up a temporary base at a nearby school and then came here. He says there are currently 5 people remaining and the rest were wiped out. David Briggs said, A few weeks back, we managed to get through to headquarters and the Okinawa Air Base. They said they'd send a rescue bird, but then the connection went dead again. Kang Hakcheol whispered, Han Yena looks different. Jung Minjun said, As expected of someone who went to an English kindergarten, that posh kid vibe is shining through. David Briggs said, I'm not entirely sure, but it feels like someone's deliberately jamming our communications. Han Yena translated, Okinawa Air Force Base said they'd send rescue helicopters, but it seems there's communication interference. Ha Do-hyun said, Then, perhaps, would it be possible for all the survivors here to scarper from Korea with the US military's help? There are about 500 people in total. Han Yena translated. David Briggs said, With that many people, it'd be tough for us too. The real problem is, we've also lost contact with headquarters. We'll keep trying to reach 'em anyway. Just don't get your hopes up too much. Han Yena said in Korean, There are simply too many people here, so it seems impossible. And the connection with headquarters is cut. They'll keep trying to make contact. Ha Do-hyun muttered to himself, Wait, if we could send Minjun through this soldier, someone who's immune to the United States side, would cure or vaccine development be possible? He stared nervously at Jung Minjun. A few ticks later, at the vending machine, the sun was about to set outside. It was already 9:30 in the evening. Inside the clinic of Moon Seo-rin opened the door, peeked into the hallway, then immediately shut it again. She sat down in her chair. She took out her phone and said, Whew, please, quickly, so much time's passed. The drone still hasn't come. Could it be... I thought it might be, but... She swallowed hard. Could it be... I've discovered an immune person. I must report to Savior Jin quickly. But her phone had no signal. Suddenly she got a Wi-Fi connection, 2 bars. She gasped. I've got a signal. Finally, I can report to the savior. Ha! Has it been a month? She called. A man's voice answered. Any problems? Moon Seorin said, This is Gunja Station Shelter, Researcher 135, among the survivors who entered here. I've discovered an immune person. The man said, What? I'll connect you to the savior right away. Moon Seorin froze and began sweating. Then Jin's voice came through, cold and calm. Go ahead. Moon Seorin said, Savior, you might not believe it. They're 100% infected. But they're different from the other infected. If the normal level is 0 and the infection level is 100, they keep going back and forth between 0 and 100. I can't fully figure it out myself. It's different from a special infected. What's certain is, they're a perfectly normal immune person. I can't determine the reason myself. I was planning to send a blood sample through the drone, but for accurate and detailed testing, we'll probably need to send the immune person themselves for physical experiments. What should I do? Jin said. An immune person? There can't be an immune person. I can only think of it as a fatal bug. Moon Seorin said. Then what should I do? A bug? Should it be eliminated after all? Jin said, No, first send the blood sample. And, as you said, we'll need to bring that immune person an experiment. The existence of an immune person means there's a defect in the currently spreading virus. If we research it well and supplement it, we could evolve it into a more powerful form that's completely impossible to cure. Moon Seorin trembled in horror. She said, But, how can I send the immune person there by myself right now? Suddenly Ha Do-hyun knocked on the door. Moon Seorin jolted in fear. Ha Do-hyun said, Are you inside? Honey? Then muttered to himself, Why did you lock the door? Moon Seorin opened the door and said quickly, Yeah, honey. Ha Do-hyun said, Why did you lock the door? Moon Seorin said, I was changing me clothes, but why are you here at this hour? It's roll call time. Ha Do-hyun said, I've got something important to talk about, just the two of us. Moon Seorin said, Can we talk about it later? She looked terrified, sweat gathering at her temples. Ha Do-hyun said, Why? It's dead important, you know. One United States soldier came in earlier, right? Moon Seorin said, Yeah, the infection test was normal. Ha Do-hyun continued, And I had a good idea. That soldier keeps trying to contact headquarters. Moon Seorin said, So? Ha Do-hyun said, So, if we send Min-jun, who's immune, or at least Min-jun's blood sample, through him to America, I reckon the United States side could develop a cure or vaccine. If the development succeeds, this hellish world will be over. Moon Seorin stared at him, her expression twisting with panic and dread. She said, What did you say? No way. Wait, did you tell that soldier we've got an immune person here? Ha Do-hyun said, No, I haven't talked about it yet. Moon Seorin exhaled in relief. Ha Do-hyun said, But this isn't a problem that can be solved with only us knowing. Somehow, we need someone's help, whether it's a vaccine or a cure. Moon Seorin said, Honey, can we really trust that soldier? He's someone who hasn't been properly vetted. If we hand over blood samples to him, will he really send them safely to a lab? There's no guarantee a cure or vaccine will be made properly. Ha Do-hyun said, That is. Moon Seorin continued, What if something happens after we hand over Min-jun, the only immune person? Unless a verified lab or a government agency comes directly, I absolutely can't hand over blood samples. Ha Do-hyun broke into a nervous sweat. Okay. Suddenly his radio burst to life. Unidentified flying object detected in the airspace above the central building. It's nighttime, so accurate identification is difficult, but it's presumed to be a drone. Ha Do-hyun said in shock, What? Moon Seorin turned toward the window, trembling. The radio continued, We're attempting to shoot it down, but it's not easy. Moon Seorin's breathing quickened. Ha Do-hyun said, This is Sergeant Ha Do-hyun. I'll head there right away. Moon Seorin said, The drone. What's that? Ha Do-hyun said. Someone from outside must have sent it. Wait here until the situation ends, honey. Moon Se-rin said. Be careful. Ha Do-hyun rushed out and closed the door behind him. Moon Se-rin stood still for a moment, then whispered, Whew. She suddenly darted toward her phone. Darn it. Connect again. Please. Please. But there was no Wi-Fi signal. It disconnected. She wiped her sweating brow. Darn it. The hallway remained silent. Outside, the midday sun hung high. Kang Hakshaw brushed his teeth and said, A drone? Ha Do-hyun replied, We missed it. Could it be a drone sent by the United States military? They said their 4 colleagues nearby don't know anything about it. They said it's not their drone. It's highly likely to be other outsiders. Whether those prison escapees or someone else, we don't know for sure. If unexpected intruders keep increasing like this, eventually we'll need more weapons. We can somehow sort out food supplies, but ammunition's the biggest problem. Guns are illegal in Korea, so ammunition resources are limited. I wish someone would drop more supplies like last time. Kang Hakshaw said, Are those supply drops also not related to the United States military? Ha Do-hyun said, Sergeant David said those supplies don't seem to be from the United States military either. Kang Hakshaw said, Then who's sending them? Ha Do-hyun said, I don't know. Anyway, someone must intend to help survivors. A few ticks later, the 4 members of David's unit who'd been waiting at the nearby school also entered the shelter. A black soldier said, This shelter's incredible. You could probably fit a few thousand people in here. A white soldier laughed. Ha ha! This is Korean power. They decided to attempt establishing contact with United States headquarters from inside the shelter. David Briggs said, Thanks to you lot, we've finally got a safe place to kip. We really appreciate it. Ha Do-hyun thought to himself, just the fact that Americans were now inside the shelter meant a high possibility of receiving support from America. The situation suddenly felt hopeful. In a different corner of the shelter, a boy said to Han-yena, What's your name? I'm from Yeonggok-dong, haha. What neighborhood were you from? I feel like I've seen you somewhere, haha. Han-yena thought to herself, even here the flies keep swarming. The boy continued, How old are you, by the way? Haha. Han-yena said, Sorry, but I'm busy walking about and interpreting. She thought, even though the world's ended, this girl's popularity never ends. The boy insisted, Weren't you just taking a breather? Haha. Oh right, who's that bloke who came in with you? A mate, not your boyfriend, right? Han-yena sweated and looked around Jung Min-jun. Where's this rascal wandered off to? Suddenly she froze. She saw Jung Min-jun in the distance with another girl. Jung Min-jun said, Oh really? Thanks, Nuna. Ha ha! Han-yena screamed internally, Jung Min-jun! She dashed between Jung Min-jun and Seo Ha-kyung. What? What are you on about? Jung Min-jun blinked. Huh? Oh, just talking about the shelter facilities, he said. Han-yena immediately leaned into Seo Ha-kyung and grabbed her arm. Oh, Unnie! I was looking everywhere for you. Unnie, I need tint and blusher. Can you get some? I went to the shop. They didn't have any sob. Seo Ha-kyung said. But Han-yena said, Unnie, why's your skin so good? I totally break out if the water doesn't suit me, but Unnie, the water here must suit you well. Han-yena said, What do you use when washing your face? Seo Ha-kyung replied, Yena. Han-yena immediately cut her off and said, Right. Ha-jun was looking for you earlier, Unnie. You should go quickly. From a distance, Oh Byung-jun began crying and said, As expected, Han-yena and Jung Min-jun, they're definitely dating. As expected, a loser like me should just fall over and cry. Bai Sun-yo, sobbing dramatically, said, No, they're not dating. I'm Bae Soon-ho, solo career of 18 years. I'm certain with this intuition trained by countless imaginary idol dating experiences. Oh Byung-jun gasped with admiration. As expected, relationship expert. Bai Soon-ho lifted his chin proudly and declared, Han-yena likes Jung Min-jun. Oh Byung-jun shouted, shocked. What? Why? Bai Soon-ho said, Reason, unknown. The trigger that made Hanyana like Jung Min-jun is a mystery even to me. In the past, Hanyana, a rich girl from a wealthy family who grew up under a doctor father in Gangnam, must have been used to getting everything she wanted. In other words, we can speculate she's a woman with tremendous possessiveness. As time passes, we can logically deduce that the more anxious person will be Hanyana rather than that clueless Jung Min-jun. Oh, Byung-jun whispered devastated. How could that be? How's that possible? Jung Min-jun was a loser just like us. I was even overwhelmingly superior to him in face, in body, in every aspect. So what exactly does she like about him? Baesunyo rubbed his chin. Han Yena had heard everything. Annoyed, she marched toward them and said, Oi, you two losers. Oh, Byung-jun and Baesunyo shrieked as if they'd seen a ghost. Hayek! Baesunyo broke out in a sweat. Sorry, we weren't secretly spying, Han Yena said. You said something about Jung Min-jun. You two were close with him before, right? Then you know him well. What do you usually talk about when the three of you are together? Like who you're interested in? Or ideal types? Do you not talk about girls? Baesunho answered, confused. Huh? Girl talk? Hanyana, you've no clue about losers' interests like us. We mainly talk about games, animation, manga, and being idol fans. Just stuff like that. Idols? She said. Suddenly she froze as a memory hit her. She remembered teasing Min-jun before. Oh, Jung Min-jun, haha. Why are you staring so intently? Is she your ideal type? And he'd replied, Ah, she's someone I knew when I was young. Yu Jian. The realization made her heart stop. In the present, Han Yena asked tensely, By any chance, are Lumina Jian and Jung Min-jun acquainted? Baesunyo scoffed. Huh, did he tell you the same strange story about how idol Lumina Jian was someone he knew or whatever? I guarantee you it's 100%. My parents' acquaintance's friend, someone who somehow knows idol Jian type of thing. If Jung Min-jun really knows Jian, I'll cut off my long stick. Han Yena laughed nervously. Right? Ha-ha! I thought so. Ha-ha! How dare Jung Min-jun? That doesn't make sense. Ha-ha-ha! Oh, Byung-jun fidgeted. But do you by any chance, Jung Min-jun like? Han Yena narrowed her eyes. What? Oh, Byung-jun stammered. I mean, there's some rumor. Do you by any chance? Han Yena said, I'm warning you for the last time. Speak proper. Oh, Byung-jun said, I like, by any chance. That Jung Min-jun. Lick. Han Yena cut him off. Just get beaten, you rascal. Meanwhile, inside a flat, bottles of soju and cheap beer were scattered empty across the floor. Kwantai-sik grumbled, those mugs. I need to get my own back somehow. Isn't there a good way? Should I infiltrate like a guerrilla operation? Or lure zombies to attack the shelter and completely wreck their insides? Song Ji-hoo remained silent before finally saying, Let's just give up on that place. Kwantai-sik glared. What? Hyung, 5 of our side snuffed it because of them, Song Ji-hoo said quietly. Now only 3 of us are left, and there's a huge difference in numbers. Kwantai-sik snapped. We can recruit more people. Bring in survivors nearby. Song Ji-hoo shook his head. Forget it. Just move to another place. Kwantai-sik clenched his jaw, then suddenly smirked. You're thinking about that girl, aren't you? Oi, Ji-hoo, be honest. You liked her, right? Saying she was too young was just talk. You actually liked her, right? She had looks that'd make any man go wild, right? Ha ha. Dude, just honestly say you want to do. Before he could finish, Song Ji-hoo grabbed a pair of scissors. He pinned Kwantai-sik by the neck. Kwantai-sik choked. Gurk! Song Ji-hoo lifted the scissors calmly and said without blinking, Should I chop you into pieces like the people who did that to my sister? Say it one more time. Kwantai-sik trembled. Gek. It's just a joke. Hyung, spare me. Before, Hyung saved my life once. I'll never mention your sister again. Song Ji-hoo released him. Kwon Taisik gasped. Gek at that moment Ma Sang Cheol burst in Jihu Taisik Hyungnim. Come out here for a mo. Kwon Taisik wiped his sweat. What is it? Ma Sang Cheol, also sweating, said, I've discovered something incredible. A few ticks later, the three of them stood outside. Below them, zombies growled. Grow, grow, cack. Kwon Taisik stared down the stairs and whispered, sweating, Whoa, what's that? Among the swarm, a massive zombie loomed over the others, snarling, Keek! Guo! The smaller zombies clustered around it, screeching, Kark! Gruch! Guch! Back in the room, Ma Sang Cheol said, That's actually a good idea. With that, we could probably gather a few dozen of them. If we lure a zombie horde near the shelter and force the people there to start shooting, the gunfire'll just pull even more zombies toward the fence. I don't know exactly how strong that huge monster zombie is, but with a horde that size, I'm pretty sure the shelter fence will give way. Most of their guards will rush over to that side, and we can use that opening to slip in from the opposite side. Kwon Taisik said with a scary face, Then we just kill every last survivor in there. Bahaha, kukuku, this is good. Those sons of biscuits. We're going to wipe 'em all out. A shooting rampage. A full-on massacre. That's been on my bucket list forever. Call it revenge on this crummy world that threw me in prison. He then looked back and said, Jihe, you get me right? Puhaha. Song Jihu said, So using zombies to throw the shelter into chaos means we're not planning to take over that shelter anymore, right? This is purely a revenge operation now. Kwon Taisik said, trying to look serious. That's right. Song Jihu said, Got it. But, that girl, I have to find Hanyena. Everyone else can die for all I care. Kwon Taisik said, Hanyena? Ah, you mean that girl, Kukuku. Sure, I honestly don't know what's going on in your head, but either way you're agreeing to the plan, right? Then we need to figure out how to lure that many zombies over. It's not 4 or 5. We're talking about a whole horde. You can't drag that with normal tricks. And we'll have to identify the weakest spot in their fence beforehand. Ma Sang Cheol said, Should we find a survivor to use as bait? Kwon Taisik said, There's no rush, so let's take our time and plan it out. In a different scene, Hanyena said, Really? Haisang actually crossed the Han River. Karen said, Yeah, the last time we heard from her she said she was crossing with her parents. If she made it, she's probably at the Gangnam shelter. Hanyena said, Ha, I see. Marie said, But honestly, I reckon we just need to get out of Korea. I don't see any other way. Karen said, Wouldn't we have to go somewhere like New Zealand, Hawaii, or some other island if we really want zero infection risk? Marie said, The airports are completely shut down though, so how are we supposed to fly anywhere? Hanyena wiped sweat from her brow and said, Ha! Jung Minjun suddenly came inside and said, Yena, the sergeant's asking for you. He says to come quick. Hanyena said, Again? Okay. As Karen and Marie watched Hanyena and Jung Minjun walk away, a few moments passed. Marie then said, Kiki. Back in school, she acted like she was hot stuff. Isn't it hilarious seeing her like that now? Karen said, She was just born lucky with rich parents. Honestly, she's not that different from us. Marie said, Exactly. Haha, the zombie apocalypse hits, and she's stuck in here with us like everyone else. Her life's not that special now. Karen said, You really never know how life's going to turn out. As Kang Hakshol walked inside, he looked confused after hearing Karen and Marie talking. Marie said, But what's really funny about Hanyena is how she completely ignored Jung Minjun at school, and now she's all friendly. So fudging hilarious. Karen said seriously, It's something I never would have imagined Marie said. Still, I bet even if she acts nice on the surface, she totally hates Minjun inside. Karen said, Yeah, given the situation, she's just playing along. Marie said, Once things go back to normal, she'll probably go right back to ignoring him. Fake people are seriously disgusting. Kang Hakshol suddenly butted in and said, If you think about everything Yena and Minjun went through together before getting here, their bond must be something we can't even imagine. Only the two of them would really understand it. Karen and Marie looked at Kang Hakshol in confusion. Karen said. What the heck? Do you know that bloke? Marie said. Nope. Was he from our school or something? Ha ha ha, Karen said. Why's he butting in anyway? Whatever. Let's go, Marie said. Ah, fricking hilarious. Kang Hakchol said quietly. A few ticks later, at the tire shop, Han Yena translated, saying, They say they've managed to establish contact with the United States recon team from Okinawa that entered the Seoul area. Ha Do-hyun said, Then, are they coming to rescue us soon? Han Yena said, They've already shared our location with them, but they said they'll only know for sure about any evacuation orders once word comes from the United States mainland. But realistically, it'll be hard to evacuate everyone here. Depending on how things go, only these soldiers might be pulled out, or this whole area could be designated as a major United States base and used as a hub to analyze the outbreak and collect data in Korea. He said he's just a lowly sergeant, so it's not like he can decide anything. But he said he'll try his best. Ha Do-hyun wiped sweat from his face and said, I see. Han Yena thought silently for a moment. Then she said to Sergeant David Briggs, If possible, could I also go to the United States with you? My friend, Jung Minjin, he's immune to the virus. Ha Do-hyun looked shocked and confused as he caught fragments of what Han Yena was saying. Sergeant David Briggs was stunned and said, What? Han Yena continued to speak in English and said, And my mum's a medical researcher working in the United States. If I could bring Minjun to her, I'm sure she could help. Please, take me with Minjun to the United States. Let's go with you. My mother-in-law. Sorry, I mean Minjun's mum. Maybe she's at the Gangnam shelter. If possible, it'd be great if we could take her with us as well. Sergeant David Briggs was shocked and said, Wait, he's immune? Can you explain that in detail? Ha Do-hyun was shocked and said to himself, Just now, Yena told him Minjun is immune, did she not? In another scene. At the clinic of Yoon Seo-rin it was 9 o'clock and 4 minutes in the evening. Yoon Seo-rin had been waiting for a Wi-Fi signal on her phone for a solid 8 hours. She wiped sweat from her face and muttered to herself, They usually only contact us on preset days, but the Saviour's side must know this is a serious matter too, so they might try to reach out again right away. If not, they'll probably send support personnel soon enough. There's no way I can manage Jung Minjun by myself. Suddenly, Ha Do-hyun knocked on the door. Honey, he called out. Can I come in? Yoon Se-rin froze, sweat dripping down her face. Her eyes didn't blink for a straight 5 minutes before she stammered, Ah, yes, come in. A few ticks later, with a microscope resting on her desk, Yoon Se-rin said while still sweating, What is it now, coming by at this hour? Ha Do-hyun remained silent for a moment. He looked at Yoon Se-rin and then said, About Minjun being immune. I told that to the United States soldier Yoon Seo. Rin froze, her expression resembling that of a teenage girl who'd just been told she was pregnant before graduation. Ha Do-hyun continued, Just passing the information to Sergeant David won't cause any immediate problems. They haven't even received evacuation orders yet. And I told them, this has to be handled carefully after the United States rescue arrives. Yoon Seo-rin trembled, sweat pouring down her face as she said, I... Suddenly she burst into anger and shouted, I told you not to tell him. Why won't you listen to me? Why do you never listen to what I say? Ha Do-hyun was shocked. Honey, just calm down. Yoon Seo-rin screamed, for fudge's sake, seriously. Face turned red with anger as he exhaled sharply. Ha, ha, ha. Then he said quietly, Honey, I've been thinking you've been acting really strange lately anyway, that's what I decided. Once the evacuation gets approved, after we talk things over, they'll come to collect Minjun's blood sample. It's still not certain whether they'll take Minjun himself. As Ha Do-hyun walked toward the door, he said, For you, for me, and for humanity to get out of this hell, this is our best option. A few ticks later, as Ha Do-hyun opened the door to leave, Yoon Seo-rin said coldly, If something goes wrong, it'll all be your fault. Every bit of it'll be on you. Ha Do-hyun stepped out and closed the door behind him. Yoon Seo-rin suddenly turned toward her pedestal and muttered, "Now that it's come to this, we've no choice but to get rid of Young Min-jun." She pulled out a handgun. A few ticks later, Yoon Seo-rin glanced at the room assignments. Her eyes widened, and she rushed toward Young Min-jun's room. As she ran, she muttered, "I, as a proud servant before our Savior, for the complete destruction of this corrupt, rotten Republic of Korea, and its eternal downfall, I offer up my body and soul in loyalty." She stopped in front of room number 5. Yoon Seo-rin stared at the door, then slowly raised her hand and knocked. "Excuse me, Young Min-jun." "Yes," Jung Min-jun replied from inside. Yoon Seo-rin said softly, "I'm your attending doctor, Yoon Seo-rin. Could you open the door for a mo? I found something in your blood, so there's something I urgently need to check." She smiled creepily as she pulled out her concealed weapon. The door creaked open slowly. Young Min-jun, sweating, said, "You could have just called me. Why come all the way here?" Yoon Seo-rin revealed her weapon and pointed it at him like a gangster. Young Min-jun wet himself slightly. Yoon Seo-rin said coldly, "You're a critical bug in the system." Young Min-jun trembled and said, "The doctor?" Yoon Seo-rin smiled like an old woman and said, "For Savior Jin, I'm going to have to ask you to sacrifice yourself." Suddenly, Ha Do-hyun shouted, "Don't move!" He aimed his weapon at Yoon Seo-rin. Yoon Seo-rin slowly turned her head to look at him without blinking. "Oppa," she said. Ha Do-hyun replied, "No wonder. I kept thinking something was off. You haven't been the same as before either." Yoon Seo-rin whispered, "Oppa, I found something huge. Min-jun is a special infected. He can talk and act like a normal person, but his instincts are no different from the other zombies. He pretended to be normal and came in here to infect every last one of us. Min-jun's main goal is to infect us all. We're all exposed to danger right now. If we let Min-jun live like this, we're all going to die. He's basically a ticking time bomb. Someone in this shelter could get bitten today or tomorrow. I'm doing this for everyone here." "How could you do this to me, Oppa?" Ha Do-hyun froze, still pointing his weapon at Yoon Seo-rin. Sweat rolled down his face as he said, "You're not the Yoon Seo-rin I know. It's like some demon got inside your body. You're like a completely different person." Yoon Seo-rin stared at him again, her smile twisting. "A demon? Fudge! Ha-ha. I never thought you'd say that to me. Kukuku. If you're going to shoot, then shoot. Even if I die from your bullet, I have to kill Min-jun before I go." Ha Do-hyun said, "Someone's forcing you to do this, right? Since when has it been like this? You weren't like this before." Yoon Seo-rin still hadn't closed her eyes since she'd walked out of her room. Ha Do-hyun said again, "Since when? I'm asking you." Yoon Seo-rin was drenched in sweat as she struggled to keep her eyes open even longer. Ha Do-hyun said quietly, "I thought it over again. Even if you shoot Min-jun dead right there, I still can't kill you. The biscuit who turned you into this. I'll find him." Yoon Seo-rin trembled violently, then suddenly screamed, "Kya!" Jung Min-jun was shocked and broke into a cold sweat. Yoon Seo-rin suddenly snapped to attention like a soldier, facing Ha Do-hyun directly. She shouted, "Before our proud savior for the corrupt and rotten, the eternal downfall of South Korea, with my body and soul, I pledge my complete loyalty." Ha Do-hyun was sweating heavily as he called out, "Yoon Seo-rin." Yoon Seo-rin screamed, "I swear it with all my heart." She bit down on the barrel. Ha Do-hyun shouted desperately, "Sorin! Wait!" They heard a sharp click. Yoon Seo-rin spat blood onto the ceiling. Ha Do-hyun lowered his weapon. His hands trembled violently as he stammered, Say. Sorin." Young Min-jun collapsed to the ground. Yoon Seo-rin finally relaxed, her eyes closing forever. The hallway fell completely silent. A few ticks later, inside Yoon Seo-rin's room, Kang Hakshol asked quietly, "Are you all right?" Ha Do-hyun said, Up until last year, Soren was going through a really rough time. Her parents were scammed, and their whole family fell apart. Then her old man died in a drunk driving accident, and her mum took her own life, so she was struggling in every possible way. After that, there was a time when Soren tried to jump off a Han River bridge, and I stopped her. After a shock that big, she must have been at her mental limit. I don't know if what she became started back then, but she definitely returned to being the Soren I knew. At least when we first entered this shelter together. She was devoted to treating the injured and researching the infection, saying we had to save humanity. As the doctor in charge, she truly seemed to be doing her best, right up until just recently. When did it all start to go wrong, I wonder? Jung Minjin said quietly, "Savior Jin." That's what she said. Ha Do-hyun looked confused. Jung Minjin continued, "That so-called savior, what is he really? Is it some kind of cult, or something?" Han Yena stared at Jung Minjin and said, "Now you mention it last time. Ha Jun definitely said that the developer of that game was named Daniel Jin. Don't you reckon the two might be connected somehow?" Jung Minjin looked at Han Yena in silence. Kang Hakshol said, "I searched through her belongings, but aside from her phone, there was nothing useful. But it's locked, so I can't even access it." "If an iPhone's locked, is there really no way to unlock it unless you're the owner?" Han Yena replied. "If it's locked, there's absolutely no way to open it, and with no internet we can't even look anything up." Jung Minjin muttered to himself, "Zombie game, Daniel Jin, Korean-born, Korean-American, Korean-born. What in the world happened?" The hallway remained eerily silent. A few days later, Han Yena stood quietly outside Jung Minjun's room and muttered to herself, "Why is he not coming out?" She knocked and called out, "Minjun, are you inside? Come out!" Jung Minjun replied weakly from inside, "I don't think I can go out. The symptoms are flaring up again." Han Yena gasped, "What?" A few ticks later, they brought cup noodles and rice to Jung Minjun. Han Yena and Ha Do-hyun watched him closely. Ha Do-hyun asked, "Why all of a sudden?" Jung Minjun replied, "I've had a bit of a cold since yesterday. Maybe my immunity dropped, and I caught some kind of cold virus from outside. So that might be why this is happening. I'm not really sure, but it feels different from before." Ha Do-hyun frowned and asked, "Different how?" Jung Minjun shook his head slightly. "It's hard to explain in words. It just feels different." Ha Do-hyun thought for a moment, then said, Anyway, don't come out no matter what. Stay inside your room only. If anyone sees you like this, it'll be a disaster." Jung Minjun nodded faintly. "Yes." Han Yena sat quietly beside him, still beautiful, her expression filled with worry. A few ticks later, outside the shelter, soldiers patrolled the perimeter. Suddenly, loud sirens echoed through the area. Kang Hakchul reacted immediately. "Huh?" He raised his binoculars. "What's with the sudden siren?" His face went pale. "Jae-young!" Jae-young snapped to attention. "Private first class. Park Jae-young." Kang Hakchil cocked his rifle and shouted, "Radio every guard in the shelter right now and tell 'em all. Grab every round and every weapon they've got and gather at West Outer Gate 1 immediately." Down the streets the sirens continued to blare. A police car door burst open and zombies poured out. "Rah! Ruda!" More followed. "Rah! Groa! Roa!" A massive zombie struggled to lift its head, layers of fat hanging from its neck. Inside room number 5. Jung Minjun struggled to sleep. Sweat soaked his clothes as he groaned. "Ha! My whole body feels like it's melting. I'm going crazy." He sat up abruptly, panting. The virus spread through his body. "Something feels off," he muttered. He looked at his hand in shock. "What's this?" Suddenly sirens echoed outside. He froze. What was that? A loud announcement rang out. "Emergency situation. Grenade explosion at West Outer Gate 1. A section of the fence has been destroyed, and there's a high risk of infected flooding in. All survivors outside, evacuate indoors immediately." Jung Minjun stared blankly, trembling. What? Hours had ticked by. Ma Sung Chol said, "The key's in the ignition and the engine's running, so we can drive the thing now." Kwon Tae-sik said, "Nice one. Good work, Hee-hoon. So we don't need to nick that bulletproof motor we built before, do we?" Ma Sang-cheol said, "Reckon we can fire up the siren and lure those zombies over. If we stick it in drive in the right spot and let the car roll towards the fence, every zombie in the area'll bunch up there. Then, once we blow the fence with a grenade, the whole lot'll come flooding into the Gunja station shelter." Kwon Tae-sik said herding the zombies sounds like the trickiest part. "Can you handle it?" Ma Sung-cheol said, "I've already sussed out the spot to get the police car out and where to lob the grenade." Kwon Tae-sik said, "Just as I expected, Ki-hoon." Ma Sang-cheol added, "Oh, and I also found a taser and some cuffs." Kwon Tae-sik said, "Oh ho, I haven't clapped eyes on one of those since the fuzz nicked me back in the day. Ha ha ha. A taser, eh? Reckon we can use it on the zombies." Suddenly, Kwon Tae-sik froze. He stared at the floor and said, "Those police uniforms." A few moments later, inside the room, Kwon Tae-sik said, "Wearing prisoner rags is all well and good 'cause survivors won't come near us, but won't this be better?" Ma Sang-chol said, "Blimey, Hyung-nim, you look totally legit. Dressing up as a copper'll make it dead easy to dupe the survivors." Kwon Tae-sik looked at Song Ji-hoo and said, "Can the first have a go with the taser, Ji-hoo?" Song Ji-hoo replied, "I'll do whatever you want. It probably won't work on the infected anyway." Suddenly, Kwon Tae-sik grabbed the taser and pointed it at Song Ji-hoo. Song Ji-hoo blinked in confusion and said, "Ha! The taser discharged." "Coo!" Song Ji-hoo cried out in pain. Kwon Tae-sik burst out laughing and said, "Bwahahaha! How'd you like that, Ji-hoo? Ever been tased before? You can't move a muscle. Feels like you're about to wet yourself, doesn't it?" Song Ji-hoo groaned weakly. "Kuh!" Suddenly, Song Ji-hoo lunged forward. Kwon Tae-sik got a right shock. Song Ji-hoo screamed, "You worthless rat!" He tackled Kwon Tae-sik to the ground. As Song Ji-hoo raised his fist, he swore, "You flipping mustard!" His punch landed. "Gugh! Cook!" Ma Sang-cheol broke out in a cold sweat and muttered, "Oh my fudge!" He ran forward and whacked Song Ji-hoo on the head with the butt of his rifle. Song Ji-hoo crumpled to the floor. Kwon Tae-sik staggered to his feet, drenched in sweat, and said, "Fudge! Wow! This monster rat! The taser didn't work?" Ma Sang-cheol asked quickly, "What are you playing at, Tae-sik Hyung-nim? Why'd you suddenly go for Ji-hoo like that?" Kwon Tae-sik sneered and said, "This rat'll just use us and then stab us in the back anyway. I can see it in his attitude and the way he looks at me. A sly rat he is." He went on coldly, "You know this bloke's a psychopath serial killer, don't you? He'd kill his own side if he had to. If you've topped that many people and chopped 'em up, you're a psychopath, aren't you?" He spat the words, "Worthless rat." Ma Sang-cheol hesitated and said, "Still, he's probably not officially diagnosed as a psychopath, is he?" Kwon Tae-sik scoffed, "This rat's talking back. He killed people one by driving them to suicide." He snapped, "Oi! This rat's talking back." Ma Sang-cheol bowed his head and said, "Sorry, young Nim." Kwon Tae-sik said with a twisted smile, "I'd love to torture you a bit before I kill you, but I'll just sort you out sharpish." He screamed, "Die, you rat." Ma Sang-cheol quickly interrupted, "Hold on a mo, Hyung-nim. We need to save our ammo, so let's use another way." A few moments later, Song Ji-hoo was cuffed by the window. Kwon Tae-sik taunted him, "This little sod's always looked down on me. Death row rat. Ha ha ha! I won't kill you straight off. Instead, I'll chop you up just like you did to the others. I'll sever your limbs." "Kya ha ha!" Ma Sang-cheol said loudly. "There's no time for that, Hyung-nim. I'll handle him." Ma Sang-cheol picked up a megaphone, and quietly he said, "It can't be helped, Ji-hoo. Like Tae-sik Hyung-nim said, I'm a bit uneasy traveling with you as well. I've known Tae-sik Hyung-nim for more years, so what else can I do?" He shoved the megaphone down. The alarm button pressed continuously. The siren wailed as it hit the ground. Ma Sang-chol added, "I feel bad about killing you, so just become zombie grub and live on as an infected." Then he walked out. A few moments later, Song Ji-hyo sat quietly on the bed as the siren kept wailing. Then the door opened. At the parking building, Kang Hak-shol was scouting the perimeter when he heard the siren. "Ha!" he muttered, confused. He raised his binoculars, searching for the source of the noise, and said, "Why is there a siren all of a sudden?" Suddenly, cold sweat ran down his face. "Ha!" Kang Hak-shol shouted, "Park Jae-young!" Park snapped to attention. "Private First Class Park Jae-young," Kang Hak-shol said quickly. "Radio everyone inside the shelter right now. Tell them to grab every round and every weapon they've got and muster at West Outer Gate 1. A few moments later, a police car was hit and its alarms suddenly screamed even louder. Zombies came running towards the noise. Kak! Queek! Gook! In the midst of the normal zombies, a massive zombie strode forward. Cars crashed into one another, triggering even more police alarms. Suddenly, Ma Sang-chol ran forward and peered around the wall. He saw no guard on the other side. He pulled the pin from a grenade. A confused soldier muttered, "Ha!" 2 grenades landed near him. An instant later, an explosion ripped through the area, his body bursting open like popcorn pushed past its limit. Inside the shelter, a loud announcement blared out. "Emergency situation. Grenade explosion at West Outer Gate 1, presumed outside intruders." Karen screamed in shock. "What?" Han Yina was sweating but still strikingly beautiful. The announcement continued. "Due to the explosion, a section of the fence has been destroyed, posing a risk of mass infected influx. All survivors outside must evacuate indoors immediately." Han Yina muttered, her expression changing. "Wait, this feeling." She remembered Lee Bong-yu's words, "Fire!" Suddenly, Han Yina ran towards the door and shouted, "Guns are useless! We need to use fire!" Karen screamed after her, "Oi, Han Yina! Where are you going?" People panicked. "Kia!" One screamed, "The fence is smashed! Run! Hurry up!" Han Yina grabbed a soldier and pleaded, "Oh, wait a mo! Haven't you got any Molotov cocktails?" The soldier shouted, "What are you doing here? Get inside right now." "Jay, just a moment, listen to me," Han Yina begged. The soldier shouted, "Concentrate fire on that monster rat." Gunfire erupted. "Cruack! Cack!" Bullets rained down on the approaching zombies. Han Yina trembled and thought to herself, We need to evacuate right now." "Sergeant, if I tell the sergeant, where the bloody hell is he?" She ran, searching for Ha Do-hyun. Suddenly something struck her mind. Jung Min-jun. His infection symptoms must be flaring up again. Maybe Min-jun's got a solution. There might be a way. "Let's get to Jung Min-jun first," Carlos shouted. "Over here, hurry up." "Now we're shutting the door." Han Yina screamed. Choi Soo-jin. Han Yina turned, sweat on her face, confusion and strained beauty mingling. Choi Soo-jin ran towards the gate with her boy toy and screamed, "Well, wait, don't shut the door." Carlos shouted, "Hurry up and get in. Get out of the way." Choi Soo-jin yelled as they forced their way in. Carlos shut the gate. A young girl outside screamed, "Kya!" Han Yina froze in shock. The girl ran with her eyes shut, crying, "Please save me." Behind her, a zombie groaned. "Kruak!" Choi Soo-jin shrieked viciously. "Don't open it!" Han Yina screamed in disbelief. "What are you doing? Open the door, hurry up. There's a zombie behind her." Choi Soo-jin snapped. "Do you want us all to die?" Han Yina shouted back. "Then get out there and lead it away, or attack it to buy some time and save her." The zombie tackled the girl to the ground. "Kyak! Kya! Please, someone save me." Han Yina stood frozen, drenched in sweat and shock. "Kruak!" Suddenly, Han Yina shoved Choi Soo-jin aside and screamed, "Get out of the way, you crazy witch!" Choi Soo-jin shrieked like an old hag. "Kia!" Han Yina ran forward to help the girl. She pulled out Kang Hak-hyol's knife. At that moment, she remembered Song Ji-hyo giving her the cheese fork, teaching her how to defend herself. Song Ji-hyo's voice echoed in her mind. Feel it properly, what it means to live To survive, you have to go half mad. She remembered his hands holding her soft fingers as he guided the fork. Hanyena muttered to herself, to survive, you have to leave yourself behind. She raised Kang Hakcheol's knife and stared straight at the zombie. Suddenly, Hanyena stabbed the zombie in the neck as it attacked the girl on the ground. Blood splattered across her face as the creature crumpled. She stared at the twitching body beneath her. The girl suddenly stood up, trembling. Thank you, Annie. Hanyena grabbed her arm. Are you all right? Come on, let's get out of here. She pulled the girl and ran towards the gate. Suddenly she stopped. Ha! The gate was shut, locked. Hanyena froze, shock washing over her. Annie, the girl whispered. Before Hanyena could react, another zombie charged forward. It tackled the little girl, slamming her to the ground. Hanyena turned in horror. The girl was dragged down and devoured. Hanyena stared, frozen, as blood pooled on the pavement. More infected ran from all directions. She closed her eyes, hands trembling, and desperately prayed to her gods. A gunshot rang out. The charging zombie crumpled to the ground. Hanyena gasped and turned towards the sound. Are you all right? Shouted Sergeant Ha Do-hyun. Right side clear, called David. Sergeant, Hanyena yelled. Over here, Sergeant Ha Do-hyun ordered. The little girl, Hanyena stammered. Too late, Sergeant Ha Do-hyun said grimly. Hanyena looked back at the child's corpse in the midst of the infected. Move! Now! Over here! The sergeant shouted. She forced her legs to move as chaos spread through the street. Gunfire erupted. A wounded zombie screamed Rah. Another infected, once a salaryman, ran towards them. Into the stairwell! Sergeant Ha Do-hyun shouted. Hanyena ran forward and shoved the door open. A few moments later they all collapsed inside the stairwell. Ha! Hanyena panted. Ha! Sergeant Ha Do-hyun panted. Ha! David panted. Sweat dripped down their faces. That was the woman who locked the door, Hanyena said hoarsely. She clenched her fists and stood up. If she hadn't blocked it from the start. What happened to that child was tragic, Sergeant Ha Do-hyun said firmly. But right now, our priority is to fall back and stabilize the situation. We'll deal with that woman later. Sergeant, please listen to me, Hanyena pleaded. I discovered that big monster before. It's weak to fire. We need to use fire. But no one's listening to me. We've already thought about stopping the gunfire and switching tactics. Sergeant Ha Do-hyun replied, we've got a few Molotovs and a flamethrower, but it's not enough. Then what do we do now, Sergeant? Hanyena demanded. Sergeant, have you got a plan or not? David asked. Sergeant Ha Do-hyun hesitated, sweat beading on his forehead. Sergeant! Hey, Sergeant! Hanyena shouted. Have you got a plan or not? Suddenly the radio crackled. This is Sergeant Ko Yong-hoon. The southern sector's been breached. The survivors inside the southern buildings are isolated. Over. This is Shelter Director An Hyun-gi. Whatever happens, we need to hold the northern sector. All units rally at the Northern Plaza main gate and establish a defense. Over. Idiot, Sergeant Ha Do-hyun muttered. Damn it. This is Sergeant Ha Do-hyun. Ceasefire immediately and all units fall back indoors. Gunfire will only rile up the infected and draw every surrounding infected here. Abandon the southern sector. If the big monsters and infected are weak to fire, move all the petrol, Molotovs and flamethrowers from the shelter to the northern fence. The most important thing is holding the Gunja Station underground platform, where the weapons and ammo are stored. Make sure entrances 1, 2, 3 and 4 of Gunja Station aren't breached. If the fences near the station entrances get smashed, lay down the petrol and Molotov cocktails inside the entrances early. What does a reserve sergeant know? Sergeant Ko Yong-hoon snapped over the radio. The infected are swarming the northern fence right now. This is Sergeant Ko Yong-hoon. Sergeant Ha is right, sir. Another voice interjected. We need to stop the gunfire and stabilize the situation first. Over. Anyway, all units, cease fire immediately. However, if you spot infected survivors inside the survivor zone, shoot on sight. That is all. Sergeant Ha Do-hyun breathed heavily. At this rate, we could lose everyone, but Where's Minjin? If what he said was true then when his infection symptoms recur, does that mean he can move freely? I'm not sure either, Hanyina replied. The symptoms might have gone away again. Minjin, Sergeant Hadoyun muttered. We need to keep Jung Minjin alive and get him out of here. If his symptoms have gone away, then he's probably trapped in the Goshiwon right now, helpless. First, we need to get Jung Minjin to the safe northern sector. Yena, it's too dangerous for you to try and reach the northern sector alone. Come with us to the Goshiwon, and we'll bring Minjin back. He turned sharply to David. You, how many rounds have you got left? I'm running low, David replied. About 12 rounds. 12? Sergeant Hadoyun snapped. 12 shots. I've got more than you. We're done for. This whole southern sector will be crawling with infected. On the way to the Goshiwon, I'll draw them off. We need to pull them further south so they don't keep swarming the northern sector. Yena, you go into the Goshiwon with David and get Minjin out and make sure Minjin wears a mask and hat so no one notices he's infected. You mean... Hanyina hesitated. Sergeant, you're going to lure all those infected on your own? Yeah, Sergeant Hadohyun said quietly. The others have stopped shooting too. I'll go to the rooftop of a building I've picked and use gunfire to draw them off. And before that, on the way to find Minjin, I'll set you up properly. Hanyina turned to David and translated softly. He says he'll lure the infected away, so I need to go with you to get Minjin out. David shouted, What? With infected everywhere, it's way too dangerous to lure them alone. I'll do it! Sergeant Hadohyun cut through the chaos. Hanyina turned to him. David says the infected are everywhere, so it's too dangerous. He'll do the luring, she clarified. Sergeant Hadohyun stepped closer. Oi, oi! Listen up. I'm not your commanding officer, but you need to stay alive and make sure Minjin gets to the United States. That lad, he might be humanity's only hope. As the reality of the situation sank in. Move, before it's too late, Sergeant Hadohyun urged. Head down this road and get out. You're good, David called out. Got it! Move out, Private Yena! A few moments later, outside, the gunfire stopped. For a brief moment, the chaos seemed to pause, but the southern plaza of the shelter was completely devastated. Dozens of casualties lay scattered across the streets. Sergeant Hadohyun's plan was simple but dangerous. He'd provide cover while Yena and David safely extracted Jung Minjin from the Goshiwon, simultaneously drawing the infected south so the northern sector remained isolated and protected. Hanyina asked, her voice trembling, Do you think Kang Hakshol's in the Goshiwon too? Sergeant Hadohyun shook his head. I ran into Hakshol earlier and told him to take Hajun's family and evacuate north. He's fine. A sudden groan spread. A female office worker was caught. Rah! She screamed. Sergeant Hadohyun fired a few rounds, dropping her, as David and Hanyina ran a few moments later. They reached the building where Jung Minjin lived. David said, I'll hold the line here. Check on Minjin. Move, move. Yes, sir, Hanyina called back, running up the stairwell. Minjin, please be inside. She reached his room, her heart pounding. Minjin, are you in? Her voice caught. She froze. Ha! Jung Minjin stood there groaning. Hanyina's eyes went wide. Jung Minjin. She stepped closer. Are you all right? Suddenly he grabbed her delicate wrist. She gasped. Kya! He pushed her against the wall, his breathing ragged. Ha! Huff! Ha! Ha! His skin flushed red, his eyes glowing red as the infection spread through him. Hanyina's heart pounded. This is just like the scene from my dream. She blushed, torn between fear and disbelief. Wait, Minjin, this is way too sudden. Even if you're completely into me, but now with infected everywhere. Jung Minjin's gaze dropped to her soft exposed collarbone, his body heated, his voice low and strained. You look tasty. Hanyina froze, eyes wide in shock. What? She looked away, trying to stifle a laugh. Kya, you perverted rascal! She squirmed weakly, her voice defensive and teasing. You're not even putting up a fight. What do you mean by that? Ha! Let go of me! You think I'd fall for a loser like you that easily? Ha ha ha! Infection or whatever. I get that you're keen, but this isn't the time for it. The shelter's in complete chaos right now. Jung Minjun's breathing faltered as pain shot through his wound. Hanyena's eyes widened. Are you all right? She grabbed his arm, gritting her teeth. It feels like I'm actually controlling it. This infection symptom, I reckon I can suppress it on my own now. Hanyena stared at him, a mixture of shock, fear, and disbelief washing over her. Thank you for watching Rebirth Genesis. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you will not miss the next chapter of the journey. Your support keeps this rebirth going strong. Until next time, stay sharp and keep rising beyond your limits.